Pet Talk UK, Pro Beez, active once more, somewhere in North London. Boxer, Gym, Punch London, you know. I'm delighted to be joined by my compadre. Good man, he's in the building. Mr. Don Charles, how you doing?
I'm very well, Frank. How are you?
I'm doing really well, calm, as they say out there. I thought I could catch up on you prior to fight week. Chisora, Price, Chisora. Wow, it's going to be electrifying. But first off, how you been?
Yeah, as usual, my friend. I'm always in the kitchen. I call my office, my gym, the kitchen. Preparing what's next. Cooking up. I'm the chef.
The chef like Raekwon.
Yeah. So always busy as usual. That's what keeps my sanity. I'm one of these workaholics. I just like to work.
Yeah, work like Rihanna and Drake.
Right.
So, what about your son George Fox? He was meant to make his debut. I mean, I understand it didn't happen. What was the whole backdrop to that?
Well, only the supposed opponent could tell you. I believe Dorian Dodge, George was meant to face Dorian Dodge, and he pulled out 24 hours prior to the actual fight, Dorian Dodge, and I believe his daughter wasn't well. That was the reason, and we wish his daughter a speedy recovery. And it was very disappointing, obviously, for George, for myself, the trainer George, my son. He was obviously it was going to be his third professional fight, and he was very looking forward to it. Put it on a show, and 24 hours prior to the fight, the opponent pulled out for the reasons I just said, which was really unfortunate. But these things happen, so it's an experience. He'll learn from it, and I believe he's got another date on the 9th of November, George. So where he's back in training for that, obviously.
Yeah, that seems to happen quite a lot with young fighters trying to come through the system. Why do you think that is?
There could be a number of reasons. Like I said, in this case, Dorian's daughter, apparently, according to Dorian, his daughter was not very well. So obviously, priorities, first things first, he has to attend to that. So fully, in this case, we'll fully understand and accept that. And I hope, like I said, I wish his daughter a speedy recovery. And hopefully, I'm not sure, we don't have an opponent for the 9th of November. And provided everything is all right, I hope, I'm not the matchmaker, I hope Sam Jones, S-Jam Boxing, can maybe get in touch with Dorian to see this, if everything's all right at his end, to be able to honor that date.
All right. Well, hopefully we get some something resolved for George. Moving forward, Chisora Price. I must admit, I was a little bit disappointed when Joseph Parker couldn't take the fight. What's your whole feeling on the spider bite withdrawal?
Again, it seems him and his team, Joseph Parker, seem like a very professional, honourable people. So again, if you've been bitten by a spider, I haven't. I grew up in Africa, so I can relate to such a thing happening. In Africa, it's not so much the spiders you got, it's the snakes you got to worry about.
You got to worry about the snakes over here too. The human ones.
Exactly. Basically, we again wish Joe a very speedy recovery from his spider bite. So obviously everybody is disappointed. The fans are disappointed. Dereck Chisora, who was meant to, remember, you're preparing for a certain style, then suddenly that happens and you have to rejuggle things, to bring in different personnels to prepare for. Now we know he's now fighting David Price, totally two different styles of fighters. So you have to obviously, like I said, regroup. And Dereck is experienced enough. and he's got enough experienced team around him in the name of David Haye to be able to make those adjustments. And I believe they've made those adjustments by bringing in different personnel to be able to then prepare specifically for the new name in the name of David Price.
I saw a really bad joke online when the news was announced that Joseph Parker got bit by a spider. Was he might have superhuman powers and become a superhero, and right afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's all tongue-in-cheek. It's all like part of the banter of the business we're in. It's show business. Yeah, you're gonna have jokes like that flying around. But listen, this thing's can be quite serious in the sense, depending. I'm sure that you have to identify at first what happened, and when they obviously realize he got bitten by a spider, things can in some cases be quite fatal. So I'm glad that they diagnosed what it was and treated it, because it could be quite serious, So first and foremost, he's hope physically he hasn't got any long-term effects from that bite. We'll wish him again a speedy recovery to recover and then reinstate himself in what he does for a living as a fighter.
So Dereck Chisora takes on David Price. Is this a better fight? That's been debated.
It's not a question of being a better fight. They're both equally. They have two different type of fighters. Parker and Chisora, me personally, that's what the fans would have obviously preferred. Being as Joe's an ex-world champion who's been in with literally everybody from Anthony Joshua to the current champion in the name of Ruiz. So it was a very good measure for, it would have made in my opinion, a more action fight, because two characters are going to be going at it. The two styles would have really caught fire. Very disappointed from everybody, from all concerned. But nevertheless, the replacement was very interesting, very intriguing to see who was going to come in. Obviously, it had to be a name that people will gravitate towards to say, okay, we didn't get Parker, but this is good enough. And the Price fight has its own angle that it brings. I think it's a very interesting fight. The styles will marry very well. You got a boxer against a fighter. Let's face it, I think it's going to be an entertaining fight as well.
I've seen Dereck Chisora say online that he's friends with David Price. How difficult is it to step into the ring and try and take your friend's head off?
Yeah, very, very difficult, because having worked with Dereck for most of his career, basically, if I was still involved, which I'm not, as you know, this is where complacency in life is a terrible thing. And knowing Dereck how I know him, he knows David Price very well, because David Price helped us in camp 2 times. We've required his services when Dereck was preparing to fight Vladimir Klitschko back in 2011, all right, which the fight that was pulled never happened. David Price came to Scotland, where we were training in Fort Williams in Scotland. He stayed with us for a long period, and we've done loads of rounds, many rounds together. So that familiarity is there. And also when Dereck a few years later got commissioned to fight Vitali, we again employed the services of Mr. Price to prepare for Vitali. Again, they did quite a lot of rounds together, and it's always very competitive whenever they're friends, but when that bell rings, they're very professional about it. And I don't think nothing changes on the 26th. When that bell rings, they're good friends, but they're good friends who are aspiring to get to where they want to get to in their profession. So I think that friendship will be on hold for the duration of the contest. Because whenever they have sparred in the past, it's very, very entertaining, very exciting, very, very action-packed. that's inspiring. So this is for real, and I'm sure nothing will change. I think it's going to be even more competitive, you know.
What do you make of like both fighters? They seem to have some form of resurgence. Chisora has looked excellent, Takam, Spilka, etc. David Price was excellent against David Allen. I mean, we saw David Price, you know, return to somewhat of his best against Dave Allen. It would seem that both these guys are in fine fettle heading to the fight night.
Yeah, they're both on the back of good runs. Yeah, but let's look at the two fighters individually. In the sense, when you said they're having a good wave for resurgence. Yeah, let's take David Price for instance. No disrespect to him, but the opposition that he's fought to gain these wins, it's levels, isn't it? They're not on the same levels as the oppositions that Chisora had faced. Yeah, do you understand what I mean? Yeah. So I wouldn't read too much into that. I mean, David Price should be beating such characters like Dave Allen. Should be beating. I mean, after all, he's an Olympian who I believe he has bronze. Yeah. Yeah, he'd actually, in that Olympics, he'd actually beat the favorite. Yeah, then when he had already beaten the favorite in the semis, you assumed he would go and get gold, David Price, but he didn't. He fell short and got the bronze. But nevertheless, he's an Olympic bronze medalist, a very, very well-schooled amateur. Has he underachieved as a professional? Yes, he has. But God loves him, and also in his defense as well, the two people who have set his career backwards, like namely Tapia and John Thompson, they were both drug cheats. So unfortunate for David Price. Who's to say that had he not had that loss against Thompson, that he wouldn't have gone on to become a world champion? It's just when such things happen in your life at different stages of your life takes, or your career, should I say, takes a certain path. He's been very unfortunate, David Price, yeah, to have sustained those setbacks, and the people who beat him are drug cheats, which is kind of I feel for him that was able to still pick up and carry on with his career. I'm sure he considered quitting, but he kept on going. I'm glad for him where he's at today. But going back to what the point I'm trying to make, the personnels who he has recently beat are not on the same levels as the personnels, opponents who Dereck has beaten recently.
Dereck Chisora mentioned fight night, no trainer in the corner. Wow, what do you make of that?
Well, you can make whatever you make of it. I would find it disturbing and very alarmed, because I don't recollect in the history of the sport, don't know if you can, of such a thing happening where there is no chief second. It will be the first, unless you can tell me, or anyone can tell me, if Spencer Fearing, when he watches this, and Ben Doughty, those are the two characters that comes to head that will be able to know whether such a thing has happened. I don't believe it has. If it does happen, then it will probably, in my opinion, it will probably be the first time. I don't think that will happen. No, I think that's just been put out there for we're talking about it, which is the magic of Chisora. Okay, it's extraordinary. I think it will be unadvisable to go into a fight, a very important fight, without even Floyd Mayweather has always had a trainer in his ear. Do you understand? So I doubt that's gonna be the case. I think you'll find that there will be a coach in that corner.
What about Eubank Jr. when he had his trainer in his corner and he says he doesn't follow instructions? Well, he did say that on records, that even though he did have a trainer in the corner.
Yeah, well, that's again, I will use the word dumb. Yeah, I'm a fan of Chris Eubank Jr. I really am, but as he found the levels went up, he needed a coach in the corner. Everybody does. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter how good you are in your chosen profession. We all need a cornerman, especially in boxing. It's okay when it's going right. If it's going wrong, you need somebody to remind you. They can't coach you in the corner, but the trainer is there purely to remind you of what you've rehearsed. Yeah? Because when your mind is in confusion, every human being operates the same way. When your mind is in confusion, chaos, somebody needs to be there, calm head needs to be there purely to pull you back together, to reassure you that everything is okay, to remind you of the points that you must refer to in order to be successful, or to aid you to be successful during that fight.
If Chisora was victorious, could this be the start of a new trend? Fighters going in there with no one in the corner.
It's not advisable to anybody. Like I said, no.
Trendsetter.
I think no. It will be the first, unless somebody can obviously. I'm knowledgeable about past history of boxing, but not to. There's levels. People like I said, Ben Doughty and the knowledge Spencer Fearon would be able to tell you it has happened or it's never happened. So I don't believe it will be a trend, because it'd be foolish. It'd be foolish of any boxer to try and start going in there without a cornerman.
All right. Well, what about preparations actually for the fight? So, Dave Caldwell couldn't do this fight with Chisora, and he's apparently being trained by David Haye. How do you think that works out? David Haye and Chisora in training.
Yeah, listen. David Haye was an exceptional fighter. What he achieved is unquestionable. But like I said to him in person, I say it again here, it takes, being a top fighter doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be successful as a coach. There's a transition one has to make from being a fighter, an undisputed world champion, cruiserweight world champion, and a heavyweight world champion. There's a transition he must make in order to become a successful at coaching. Yeah? So, again, I'm sure the brief period that I worked for the Dillian Whyte fight, the brief period we worked together in preparation for the Dillian Whyte fight, no, I'm totally against it, where ex-fighters, they have their views. A trainer is a trainer, and a manager is a manager, and a fighter is a fighter. There's different heads. There's different heads where you must have to be that coach that you want to be. I'm not saying in the future he won't make a good coach. I'm sure he will. But there's a transition one must make to become that out-and-out coach.
Yeah. How's the whole vibe with David Haye at the moment? Obviously, they made a change.
Vibing is, what do you mean? Vibing what sense?
I mean, in terms of, have you had any communication, etc.?
No, I don't communicate with him. I don't need to communicate with him. There's an unfinished business with me and him in particular, yeah.
All right, moving on. KSI, Logan Paul. Now, you've been in the game a long time. I mean, there's boxing purists that say this is a mockery of boxing.
Yeah.
Don Charles.
There's so many ways.
Let us know.
There's so many. Everybody has an opinion, okay? Especially in boxing. There's so many ways you can look at it. Yeah. On a commercial angle, I think it's a fantastic thing. Yeah. Okay. On a commercial angle, like I said, but on a professional boxing angle, I think it's detrimental to the sport. Yeah. Because, like it has been noted and quoted in the past, you can play cricket, you can play tennis, you can play football, you can play all sorts of sport. You can't play boxing. Okay? Now, boxing is the only sport. Boxing is the only sport that anyone can decide tomorrow. If I want to be a coach, I want to be a fighter. And then suddenly, it's like me tomorrow saying to you, you know what, Frank, I want to be a professional footballer. Not only do I want to be a professional footballer, I want to play from non-league football, like playing in the park, suddenly I wanna be playing for a Premiership side.
I think the last footballer to do that was at some good success was Jamie Vardy, I think.
Right. Okay, like I said, it's like me saying suddenly I want to play professional football, but not just play professional football. I want to play from none whatsoever. I want to walk into Tottenham Hotspur. I want to walk into Man United, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, and I want to be in that squad. I want to play. Yeah, you'll be laughed off. You'll be laughed away. Boxing is the only, well, it's not a sport, is it, boxing? Okay, so it should be under a different category. Yeah, it's not sport. The contract killers. That's what we are, boxers. So, it's very alarming that two characters who, I'm not saying they shouldn't do their passion, their dream is to fight, to settle their whatever. I'm not too familiar with, I know they're bloggers, what we now know as bloggers on the internet, and they've got such popularity that to the degree that boxers who've been boxing since the age of 7, 9, 8, 9 years of age are appearing, world champions are appearing on their undercard. That's the world we're living in today. Yeah. Like I said, I understand the commerciality of it, the attraction. That's the world we're living in today, the society, the modern society. But we mustn't encourage where such things, because, you know, especially with the climate of what's happening with boxing at the moment, all the fatalities we've been having recently, it's not recommended that people, because boxing is an art that it's like martial art, for instance. You can't become a black belt. You would have had to spend years and years of studying it. It's an art. Boxing is an art. Boxing is a part of the martial art family. Why would it take me 7 years of constantly doing martial art before I will gain my black belt? It takes 7 to 8 years, in some cases longer. Why can I just become from a non-belt to a black belt? And it shouldn't happen. We shouldn't encourage it. That's am I making sense to you, Frank? You know, I see the commercial angle of it, but you can't play boxing. This is not about kicking a ball in the net and scoring a goal. Yeah, this is you're playing ping pong with each other's heads. Yeah, so we mustn't overlook that side of it. That's why I would be against such thing being encouraged to happen, because it's only going to escalate with these two characters, KSI and Logan. Yeah. I'm sure Eddie has embraced it, and I understand why Eddie would have embraced, because of the commerciality of it. Yeah, it's a no-brainer when you look at the commerciality of it. But in all seriousness, it's not good for the sport in general. No, it's not.
Well, Patrick Day, he passed away in the ring.
God rest his soul.
We mentioned fighters. We mentioned not playing boxing, and we saw a young man lose his life in the ring. Any tribute from Don Charles?
Well, there's no any words that's in the English dictionary that I could say when someone loses their life, especially losing their life during what they've chosen to do. He's a gladiator, he's a warrior, yeah? Special people. It takes a special human being to get in the ring knowing fully well what the objective when you choose to do this sport. You know what could potentially happen, but yet again, I've got a son who does it. What possessed me?
Yeah, that's interesting. That's what I'd like to ask you.
What possessed me as a father to even allow my son, my only son, I don't have any other children, yeah, to actually allow. I didn't want it in the beginning. I did it myself. Yeah, he's a very educated young man. He could do anything, any other job apart from boxing. He chose to box. So what possessed me to back him with it? It's the unexplained. I couldn't sit here and tell you. It's just what we do. That's what man, the human being, we've always done it. Yeah, we've always done it from BC because it's in us. It's in us as human beings. We've always fought from day one. It's just that boxing has been refined and there's a rule that's been put to it. So we do it as a prize fight, as a pugilist. Yeah, so I'm glad that did happen. There are rules to it. Yeah, but like I said, Going back to the young man who passed away, God rest his soul, and there's no any word in the dictionary I could use to console his family to say, but that's his destiny. He chose to do this. His family should be proud of him, of his achievements to date, and may God rest his soul.
R.I.P. Patrick Day. Condolences to his families and friends. From Don Charles Pep Talk. Now, just to conclude, I think we were talking off camera about potentially Dave Allen, Daniel Dubois.
Ouch. I did actually, I heard that, and I thought it was a joke, and I hope it's still a joke. Again, based on the current climate, based on Mr. Allen's recent performances, I know he's a very popular guy on the internet, yeah? Again, we're looking at the commercial side of it, outweighing the not so commercial side of it, yeah? The realness of it. I personally don't think that fight should be allowed to commission to happen. No amount of money should that fight be allowed to happen for the sake of Mr. Allen, for his safety, because I would hate to use it because it would be a public execution.
Wow.
Very strong, right? That's how strongly I feel that fight should not be commissioned.
Daniel Dubois, obviously, he's picking up straps like it's nothing out there. He's developing quite an artillery. He's looking fantastic now.
Pace.
How far can Daniel Dubois go? Are we looking at the next world champion, or a world title holder in Daniel Dubois?
Provided, I'm sure. I mean, he's in very good hands with Frank Warren. He's got a trainer, a fine trainer, developing him. Okay, and he's in good hands. But my only concerns is that they don't race him. He's young enough. Let him carry on developing. There are lots of fights out there for him. To be able for him to carry on developing, yeah? There's so many domestic people around for him to carry on, although he's the current British champion, current Commonwealth champion, yeah? There's the European title. I believe Joe Joyce is fighting for the European title.
Yeah, Huck.
Yeah, he's playing Huck. I thought Huck was retired. I'm surprised he's still around. So Joe should and will go and capture the European title. And again, I don't believe Daniel Dubois should be fighting the likes of Joe Joyce. He's very seasoned and he's a man, a fully grown man. He's at his peak right now, Joe Joyce. Yeah, he's at his peak. I don't think Daniel's handlers should put him in with Joe Joyce, irrespective of whether he can be successful at challenging Joe Joyce for the European title or not. Okay, I think they should hold him back to such time. All the main belts are spoken for anyway, for the next foreseeable future, in my opinion. I believe demographically, those belts are tied up for the next 18 months to 24 months before anyone outside of the top 6, let's say for instance, can get their hands on it. So while that's happening, remember, is he only 22, is it?
21.
Oh my God, yeah. So that's even more the reason why they should take their time with him, because there's other people who we don't get the daylight. Like I said, Georgios, we know him because he's from England. There's a Jogovic, Philip Jogovic.
Hrgović.
Yeah, Hrgović. There's people like that floating
serious,
out there.
Yeah.
So it's all very well saying Daniel's ready for it. No, there are people like that, out there who I wouldn't put him with those type of characters, because he's a baby who's achieving and developing. Martin Bowers is doing a fantastic job, because technically he looks the neatest out of the whole. When we're looking at now how someone is schooled, Daniel Dubois technically, textbook-wise, the best out there. Yes, he is, including the current world champions in the name of your Wilders and your when you're looking at pure boxing. pure boxing, where everything is executed in the way the rule book says to do boxing. This is how to throw a jab, a right cross, uppercut, the lot. He's got the whole spectrum of punch repertoires, yeah? But that doesn't mean you should be challenging for your world titles before the next 24 months, no.
Right, Don, it's been a pleasure. As always, I'd like to shout out my man, Don Charles.
Pet Talk UK.
Subscribe.